A Tinder date in Auckland. On the 1st of December 2018, Grace Mullane is in Auckland, New Zealand. She is 22 years old and traveling alone on a round-the-world trip. Grace has been documenting her journey through photos and messages sent regularly to her family. That evening, she opens Tinder and matches with a man living in Auckland. After a brief exchange, they agree to meet the same night. They meet in the city center and spend several hours moving from bar to bar. CCTV footage later shows them laughing, drinking, and appearing relaxed. Nothing in the footage suggests immediate danger. Late that night, they return to the man's hotel room. The door closes behind them. Inside the room, an argument begins. At some point during the night, Grace is strangled. She dies in a hotel room she entered willingly only hours earlier. Her body remains in the room overnight. The next day, the man leaves calmly. He purchases cleaning supplies in a large suitcase, then returns to the hotel. Grace's body is placed inside the suitcase and loaded into a rental car. He drives for hours before leaving the suitcase in a remote forest area. When Grace fails to contact her family on her birthday, concern grows quickly. Police retrace her final movements through surveillance footage and digital records. Days later, the suitcase is discovered. The Tinder date becomes a homicide investigation that shocks New Zealand. The Tinder match who claimed authority. On the 23rd of September 2016, Sharon Houghton arranges a meeting through Tinder in the United Kingdom. She is 45 years old. The man she matches with claims to work in law enforcement, a detail that immediately creates a sense of authority and trust. They agree to meet in person in a public setting. At first, the interaction appears normal. During the meeting, the man's demeanor changes. He reveals a firearm and asserts control over the situation. Witnesses later describe a brief confrontation. There is no prolonged argument and no chance for escape. A single gunshot is fired. Sharon is killed at the scene. The man flees but is later identified and arrested. Investigators determined that he was not a police officer and had fabricated his background entirely. His Tinder profile concealed a violent history that Sharon could not have known about. The dating app interaction becomes central evidence in the case. A date built on a lie. On the 15th of November 2017, Sydney Loof leaves her apartment in Lincoln, Nebraska. She is 19 years old and tells friends she is going on a Tinder date with a woman named Audrey. Sydney never returns home. Her phone continues sending messages for a short time, which initially delays concern. When friends realize something is wrong, police are contacted. Investigators soon discover that Audrey does not exist. The Tinder profile was created using false photos and a fabricated identity. Sydney had been lured by a couple who had no intention of dating. She is restrained, killed, and later dismembered. Her remains are scattered across multiple rural locations. During the trial, Tinder messages are read aloud in court. Casual phrases and friendly emojis are transformed into evidence of planning and deception. The case becomes one of the most infamous examples of catfishing escalating into murder. The Tinder swindler. Over several years, Simon Leviev uses Tinder to meet women across Europe. His profile presents him as wealthy, powerful, and constantly traveling. He posts photos on private jets, in luxury hotels, and surrounded by expensive cars. The image creates immediate credibility and attraction. After matching, Leviev moves conversations off the app quickly. He sends voice messages, calls frequently, and builds intense emotional bonds in a short time. The relationships escalate rapidly, creating a sense of exclusivity and urgency. Soon, he introduces a crisis. He claims his enemies are tracking him and that his accounts are temporarily frozen for security reasons. He asks the women for financial help, promising repayment within days. Many take out loans, max out credit cards, or borrow money in his name. There is no physical violence. The damage is financial and psychological. Victims are left with massive debt, broken trust, and long-term emotional trauma. When the story becomes public, investigators and journalists expose how dating apps can be used to manufacture intimacy at scale, turning romance into a calculated financial trap without a single crime scene. Hunting through dating sites. In October 2011, Mark Twitchell is active on several dating websites in Edmonton, Canada. He presents himself online as creative, intelligent, and ambitious, often describing himself as a filmmaker working on independent projects. His profiles appear harmless and carefully curated. Twitchell uses these platforms to contact men and initiate private conversations. He invites them to his garage, claiming it will be used as a filming location. The setting is controlled, isolated, and familiar to him. One man arrives and is attacked, but manages to escape with serious injuries. He reports the incident to police, but at the time, the full pattern is not yet understood. Days later, another man responds to Twitchell's messages and agrees to meet. This second meeting ends differently. Inside the garage, Twitchell carries out a premeditated attack and kills his victim. Afterward, he attempts to dispose of the body and erase evidence. Investigators later uncover digital documents outlining Twitchell's planning and violent fantasies. Dating websites were not incidental. They were the deliberate tool used to select, isolate, and trap his victims. Digital intimacy and control. In August 2021, Gabby Petito is traveling across the United States with her fiancé, documenting the journey through photos, videos, and constant online updates. She is 22 years old, and the couple's van life appears carefully curated for social media. The relationship looks affectionate and adventurous from the outside. Behind the posts, friends later describe growing tension. Messages sent by Gabby become inconsistent in tone. Some sound unlike her usual writing style. Location data and phone records later raise questions about who had control over communication during the trip. In late August, contact with Gabby suddenly stops. Her family reports her missing when messages go unanswered. A nationwide search begins, piecing together digital traces left behind through texts, videos, and timestamps. Weeks later, Gabby's body is discovered in Wyoming. Investigators conclude she was killed during the trip. While dating apps are not central to the case, the story reflects modern relationship dynamics shaped by constant digital intimacy, where control, isolation, and public image can mask escalating danger until it is too late. Trust after a date. On the 22nd of May 2017, Hannah Cornelius leaves a restaurant in Cape Town, South Africa. She is 21 years old, studying and living with friends. Hannah has recently interacted with someone she met online, and the conversations had felt normal and friendly. There are no obvious warning signs. After the evening ends, Hannah faces a problem getting home. Public transport is limited at that hour, and she does not want to walk alone. When a ride is offered, she accepts. The decision is made quickly and without visible hesitation. Once inside the vehicle, the situation changes. Hannah is overpowered and abducted. Over the following hours, she is assaulted and later killed. Her body is discovered days later in a remote area. Investigators later determined that the sense of familiarity created through online interaction played a role in lowering Hannah's guard. The case becomes a stark example of how trust formed digitally can transfer too easily into the physical world with irreversible consequences. Dating apps. In the background of a search. In February 2020, Megan Boswell's 15-month-old daughter is reported missing in Sullivan County, Tennessee. Megan is 23 years old and tells investigators conflicting stories about the child's whereabouts. A large search effort begins involving police, family members, and volunteers. While the search is ongoing, investigators begin reviewing Megan's phone and digital activity. They discover that she remains active on multiple dating apps during the days and weeks after her daughter's disappearance. Messages are sent, conversations continue, and meetings are discussed. The dating apps are not the crime scene, but they become part of the timeline investigators analyze closely. Timestamps, locations, and message content do not align with Megan's statements about her movements and priorities during the search. As the investigation progresses, digital behavior becomes increasingly relevant. Prosecutors later argue that the app activity reflects a pattern of deception and detachment. The case shows how dating apps can intersect with major criminal investigations, not as the cause of violence, but as revealing digital evidence that helps reconstruct intent, behavior, and credibility. Drugging through hookup apps. Between 2015 and 2016, Jason Lawrence uses Grindr and other hookup apps to arrange meetings with men across the United Kingdom. His profiles appear ordinary, and the conversations are brief and direct, focused on quick private encounters. Many of the meetings take place in apartments or hotel rooms. Shortly after arriving, several victims report feeling unwell. Some experience dizziness, confusion, or sudden exhaustion. In multiple cases, they lose consciousness entirely. Lawrence has secretly drugged their drinks or food. While his victims are incapacitated, Lawrence robs them, taking wallets, phones, and valuables. In several instances, the dosage proves fatal. Multiple men later die from overdoses and related medical complications. At first, the incidents are treated as isolated overdoses. Only when police and hospitals compare reports does a pattern emerge. Dating app messages, timestamps, and location data reveal a clear link between the victims. The case exposes how hookup apps can be exploited to isolate victims quickly and repeatedly, turning brief digital interactions into deadly encounters. A meeting that was never a date. On the 10th of October, 2019, Matthew Weaver responds to a message on Grindr in the United States. Matthew believes he is arranging a private meeting with one person. The conversation is brief, friendly, and gives no indication of danger. He agrees to meet late at night and travels to the provided location. When he arrives, the situation immediately feels wrong. Instead of one person, multiple individuals are present. There is no conversation and no opportunity to leave. Matthew is attacked and robbed. He is beaten and left severely injured. Emergency services are later called, but his condition continues to deteriorate. Matthew dies from complications caused by the assault. As police investigate, they discover that the Grindr account was used as bait. Similar incidents begin to surface, all following the same pattern. Victims are isolated through the app, lured to controlled locations, and ambushed. The case demonstrates how quickly a digital interaction can turn into a coordinated trap, where what appears to be a date is actually a planned act of violence. When contact never ends. In 2018, Laura Black matches with a man on a dating app in the United Kingdom. The initial conversation is polite and unremarkable. Messages are exchanged over several days, but Laura quickly realizes she is not interested and ends the contact. The response is immediate and unsettling. The man continues to message her repeatedly, despite being ignored. The tone shifts from friendly to demanding. When Laura blocks him on the app, the messages continue through other platforms. Soon, the contact moves offline. The man begins appearing near Laura's workplace and in areas she regularly visits. Each encounter feels deliberate. Laura changes her daily routines, avoids familiar places, and becomes constantly alert. Police are eventually contacted. While no physical violence occurs, the psychological impact is severe. The fear is ongoing and invasive, affecting every aspect of her life. The case highlights how a single digital match can evolve into prolonged stalking, where the absence of physical harm does not lessen the damage caused by persistent, unwanted contact.